Back to one-on-one. Lydia Perner here, and I'm pleased to be joined alongside the designer of the Miracle on Ice 45th anniversary merchandise creator, Mr. Gary Lowe. Lowe founded Lowe Sports, which has been a leader in officially licensed fan gear for over 30 years now. His brand has been so successful that USA Hockey has actually licensed it as well, along with designing the iconic logos for the Miracle on Ice team. He has also been in the business of designing specialized Formula One and Indy racing products and has also been able to separate himself in the sports merchandising market because of his product's quality and attention to detail. So, Mr. Lowe, welcome on today. Thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
Good. I'm doing well.
So, before we jump into, kind of the sports merchandising part of your career, I got to ask you, from one hockey fan to another, you were there in 1980 at the Miracle on Ice, run. Just what was it like being in Lake Placid, the spectacle, the atmosphere, what it meant to the country and program, etc.?
So just to give you a little hockey background, I played as a youngster in Westchester for the White Plains over at Ebersol, and my family had Ranger season tickets. It's now going on 56 years, and so I've been a hockey fan forever. And part of our package of having Ranger tickets, we would get other events. So to backplace this, 10 days before I went up to Lake Placid, I went to Madison Square Garden and watched Russia beat the US 10-3. So my uncle invited me up to Lake Placid because they had the EKG machine, the Olympic Village, that was being used by the athletes. And so they were a sponsor. So he said, why don't you come up? And I was a freshman in college in upstate New York. And he said, why don't you come up the last weekend and you'll get to go to some events. So I got up there Friday afternoon and he said, we're going to go to the USA Russia game, which was actually at 5 o'clock, even though it was broadcast at 7. And I said, I don't want to go. He goes, what do you mean? I go, I just saw him lose 10-3. And I was such a fan of swag and merchandise, and I was into ski racing. I just wanted to walk around town. So, of course, I went to the game. I happened to luckily sit first row, and the rest is history. It was a wonderful event, obviously, greatest moment in sports history, they say, especially in this country. Sorry, let me turn off my phone. And It was wonderful. What I remember probably most is leaving the game, going down the staircase, and everybody talking about going over to Afghanistan and getting rid of all the Russians over there. I mean, it was a lot more than a hockey game. It was USA versus Russia, and it was wonderful. Um, the rest is kind of all a blur. The entire weekend, of course, on Sunday I went to the morning game was U.S. versus Finland. Um, and we came from behind again, the U.S. to win that game. And lucky enough, I got to. We also had tickets to the third place game in the afternoon. Was Sweden, Finland? Was Sweden versus Russia, and following that game was the medal ceremony. So I probably didn't stay much for the Sweden Russia game, or came in late and stayed for the medal ceremony. Um, and that's it. Went to the end, closing ceremonies. Fast forward 37 years, I took my business, which was in Formula One and Indy merchandise, and then I left that and got involved in rugby merchandise. And I went up to Lake Placid. It was 37 years later, and I went up there for a rugby event in the summer, and somebody hooked me up for a private tour who was from Lake Placid, of the Olympic Museum and the arena and everything. And I started having flashbacks and thoughts, and I came up with this idea to take the 1980 jersey as a hoodie because I felt that people don't really wear hockey jerseys outside of going to a game as much. And now it's 8 years later, and it's my business, a big part of my business. And you can see everything on my site, Low Sport Gear. I've taken a lot of my photos that I've taken, I've turned them into postcard sets. I've been lucky enough to now have very special relationship with Jack O'Callahan. And then this past fall, I sat with Mike Ruzioni and did an autograph session with him. And last week, I spent about 2 hours with Jim Craig doing an autograph session with him. And I managed to meet almost every player on the team at this fantasy camp they have every May. And I'm living my dream. These guys are my heroes. And of course, Saturday is the 45th anniversary, which is just mind boggling for me, and I'm sure for them also, and for everybody else who remembers where they were watching the game.
Oh, I guess you kind of mentioned, being around all these players and living the dream, kind of getting to know them. So obviously you mentioned Jim Craig, Ruzioni was obviously the captain, O'Callahan. Do you have any unique stories that maybe they told you or you witnessed, or anything that sticks out kind of about these guys?
Um, I would say my best story, honestly, is about Herb Brooks. And I actually 4 years ago got very involved with the Herb Brooks Foundation. I've managed to meet Herb's two children, and I'm have permission to use his quotes, his name and likeness, and I've created a whole Herb Brooks collection. Been out to Minnesota, and I've just learned what an icon he is at the University of Minnesota, and there's a restaurant and everything else. But when Herb became coach of the New York Rangers, my best friend's father was the Ranger team dentist, and they had an anniversary party, and Herb came to the party, and I knew he was coming. So I bought in one of my photographs, which was the team on the podium getting their medals when they all put their finger up that said number one, and they were in their blue sweatsuits. And so I went over to Herb to give him one of the photographs. And I guess no one really had ever given him anything, and he was used to maybe seeing newspapers and anything else. And he was like, wow, this photo's unbelievable. Where did you get it? And I'm like, Herb, I was there, and this was like unbelievable. And thank you. And I gave it to him. And then he's like, well, what can I do for you? I'm like, what do you mean what you could do? I had the greatest weekend ever. I'm a hockey nut. And I'm like, well, he goes, here's my, number. Let me know what I could do for you. So 6 months later, I actually went to a Ranger game and sat in the penalty box as a photographer. And back then, you didn't wear a helmet, and there was also no glass in front of the penalty box. So this was probably 1983 or 84. So that was pretty cool. Eruzione actually was inducted into the New York State Hockey Hall of Fame, which is in Troy, New York, in August last year. So I got to do an autograph session with him and hear him speak. He was excellent, very funny, and interesting to hear. And they all tell some great stories. And then Jim Craig last week also spoke a little bit, and I got to listen to him speak. But these guys are my heroes. And Jack O'Callahan, you know, he's just a great guy. And they all, you know, like every family, they all have their issues. Like Jim Craig said, people think we're all best friends. We lived together and played together for 6 months, and then we went our separate ways. But they did get together for the 35th, the 25th, 35th, and 40th anniversary. They're not getting together for the 45th. They probably will get together for the 50th. We obviously have lost three players plus Herb already, and hopefully, the rest will be around for the 50th. And they're all special characters. Mark Wells I got to meet in the New York State Hockey Hall of Fame. Mark Pavlich, I got to sit with and meet and reminisce about his time being with the Rangers and living in Rybrook and playing, practicing at Playland. And it's been really special getting to know them. And they're just people and grandparents and parents like everybody else.
Well, you make mention of Herb Brooks. Obviously, he was the coach of that team. And for someone like me, I was born well after that game. And my only recollection, I guess, of Herb Brooks is seeing Miracle about 100 times. I remember in elementary school bringing it in to like watch a movie day and trying to get all my friends to vote for it so we could watch it as a class. But I don't know how well you could answer this, but the movie, is it pretty indicative of who Herb Brooks was as a coach? Or obviously Hollywood tends to dramatize things, but what are your thoughts, I guess, on Herb Brooks and how the movie portrays him? And is he really that type of, hard-nosed hockey coach? Or
Um, yes and no. I would definitely say that Disney did their magic on the movie in a variety of places. And I'm not the best example I could give is Jack O'Callahan. We could talk about next. But in terms of Herb, what I've heard from the players is it was pretty accurate. And Kurt Russell did a lot of homework talking to Herb's wife, Patty, who is still alive, and to Herb's children and to the players. So he gave an accurate depiction of Herb's personality. And yeah, everyone says it was pretty, very accurate. Yeah.
so I guess going along the, being there and you've mentioned like kind of being like a huge that these guys are your role models. And what does it mean for you just, being a fan, being at that game, to now being able to create a product for such a special, 45th anniversary that USA Hockey, is trusting you. So what goes into kind of like the feeling and also being able to make that product and make it special?
Um, I've always taken pride in everything I did in my licensed merchandise. And I'd say my background coming from Formula One, which is the highest form of car racing, with brands that I was involved with, like Ferrari and Mercedes. And that's always trickled down to everything else I've done in licensed sports. So I've always tried to create product that is as nice as anything that you see out there with the NFL or NHL, but in a much smaller scale, because though the Miracle on Ice and even USA Hockey mean a lot to the public, USA Hockey, of course, is only very important every 4 years during the Olympics. Of course, the fact of this face-off series where we're having the USA Hockey US play Canada tonight, Thursday night, is fantastic for this country and for Canada. But Miracle on Ice has two generations. It has everyone that's 50 years old and older that remembers it from watching it. And then it has the US born hockey players that grew up and their parents made them watch the movie, and now they remember the movie and they all want to play like Micah Bruzioni or Jim Craig or Jack O'Callahan. And so, ultimately in every sport, the most popular item is the jersey, which another company makes. But, my best selling item has been the hoodie. And anybody who doesn't own it, it's the nicest hoodie, I believe, on the market in terms of feel and fabric and everything else. And I'm proud of that. And now it's trickled over to everything else, including this year came out with a set similar to what Lego makes of the Herb Brooks Arena in Lake Placid, bobbleheads of Herb Brooks and Jack O'Callahan, and we just announced a Jim Craig bobblehead depicting the picture I took of him at the buzzer on the Miracle on Ice game. So we're having a lot of fun with it. And I'm trying to with everybody else keep the miracle alive, and hopefully we'll keep it going at least up to 50. And Lake Placid, if you have not been, has kept it alive, and it's very important to their city. They put a lot of effort during COVID to redo the museum up there and the arena and all the Olympic venues. And it's a fantastic place to go visit. And it definitely makes you feel like you were there in 1980.
You kind of make mention of back to one-on-one. Lydia Perner here, and I'm pleased to be joined alongside the designer of the Miracle on Ice 45th anniversary merchandise creator, Mr. Gary.
Very important to their city. They put a lot of effort during COVID to redo the museum up there and the arena and all the Olympic venues. And it's a fantastic place to go visit. And it definitely makes you feel like you were there in 1980.
You kind of make mention of back to one-on-one. Lydia Perner here.
You're listening to WFUV, New York.
Hey sports fans, it's Bobby C. I'm the sports director here at WFUV. From live broadcasts of Fordham Athletics to coverage of all the professional sports teams in the NYC, we've got everything a sports fan could ask for. Like talking sports? Check out One-on-One, New York's longest running sports call-in show, as well as our diverse collection of podcasts. If you're a Fordham student interested in joining our program, feel free to shoot me an email, bobbyc@wfuv.org. And as always, thank you to all of our listeners who support us every week. 90.7 FM is the home of WFUV Sports.
Welcome back to One-on-One. I know we had a couple of technical difficulties with the interview, but that was an interview with Gary Lowe trying to discuss Miracle on Ice. We are back here. We're going to have a nice hour full of baseball talk. Baseball is back.
It's the time of the year. Best time of the year.
I am so happy. Baseball is my sport, guys. You don't understand. Spring training started this week. You know, everyone was reporting a couple of weeks ago. The season's there. The season is coming.
It's within arm's reach.
March 27th is almost there. So let's just get into it. You know, spring training, every team is starting to get ready for the next year, wants to dethrone the Los Angeles Dodgers. The Yankees want to get back to the Fall Classic.
The glory.
There's many teams in the hunt after this crazy offseason. There's been move after move, free agency after free agency. And we're here just going to break it down. I mean, there's new additions almost everywhere around the MLB. I think the biggest one of recent time, Alex Bregman going to the Boston Red Sox. Now, as a Yankee fan, you don't want to hear any good news about Boston improving their team.
Especially with someone like Alex Bregman, who was involved in that Astros cheating scandal.
Bregman's a good third baseman, guys. Like, don't get me wrong. I wish that the Yankees acquired Alex Bregman because we have a hole in third base. But we'll leave those conversations about the Yankees for later on the show. But here comes Bregman joining the Sox.
Sorry to cut you off, Andrew, but looking at the transactions on Saturday, February 15th,
yeah,
the Angels and the Twins also made some nice pickups. The Twins picked up Ty France on a 1-year deal, who I have not counted out from his days in Seattle. I like Ty France. Also, the Angels picking up Kenley Jansen and Yohan Moncada.
No, yeah, those were good pickups.
Those are two also a little old, but
not well. Jansen,
Kenley is. Yeah. Moncada is what? He's out of early 30s, mid 30s.
He's a guy that has to prove himself.
And he's also a utility player too. He could play. He's a Swiss Army knife.
Joining the Angels is basically saying that you need to prove yourself, kind of guy.
And then looking at the same transaction, when they picked those two players up, they placed right-handed pitcherman Robert Stevenson and, of course, third baseman Anthony Rendon on the 60-day IL before the season even starts.
That man's never going to see the baseball field again.
One of the worst, if not the worst, contract in baseball history.
I don't know. Jacoby Ellsbury haunts me to this day.
And I think he also looks something like Bobby Bonilla.
Well, I'm not a Met fan, so I don't care. But going back to the Red Sox and then picking up Alex Bregman, we know him as a third baseman in Houston. The Red Sox have a third baseman of their own, and Rafael Devers, who is he's one of the best players in the league.
Even though he played for Boston, I always liked his style of play.
Yeah,
but I hate him now. Rafael Devers. I hate him. I hate him.
Why?
Because he's not a team player. Baseball's a team sport.
Let's talk about it.
Team sport.
Let's talk about it. This man, when asked by reporters if he would move to DH, simply said no. No explanation, simply said no. That man
he doesn't want to see his team win.
That man signed an extension to be the Red Sox third baseman, and here comes Alex Bregman, join the team. Bregman, though, is open to playing second base, which he'll probably play.
Who's a team player. There are 9 guys on the field. 9 guys. Not just you. There are 9 guys on the field. You have to do what's best for the other players.
You do.
And you have to do what's best for your pitcher. If someone hits a screamer down the third base line, you're not picking that up, Rafael Devers, because you're essentially a traffic cone on defense.
He is.
He is a liability at third base.
And then Alex Bregman comes along, Gold Glover, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to make those plays. You're not. Alex Bregman is faster than you, pudgy Rafael Devers. Alex Bregman will charge a ball and sling a barehanded throw across the diamond. You won't.
Alex Bregman has Gold Gloves at third base to prove his case.
I know. And Rafael Devers is known as one of the worst defensive third basemen in the league.
Yeah.
He had 50-something fielding in MLB The Show last year.
We're going to video game stats, guys.
You gotta hop off the PlayStation.
We're looking at a guy who people were probably wanting him to play first base because of the defense he had at third base. And the Red Sox have someone, Tristan Casas, who's your first baseman.
Tristan Casas, who's a stud.
He's a good player, so you can't really take him out. So the only other spot for Devers would be DH,
which also would make the most sense.
It would, because he's a great bat. Like, no one is saying that Devers' bat is far. Like, he's one of the top bats in the AL.
We're
even
just
in
saying
the league.
we're just saying he's a garbage defensive third baseman.
He can't play defense. For some reason, he can play defense like the Yankees, but he can't play defense. Otherwise, he's there to make the routine play, but even sometimes routine play can catch him. He's not going to make the hard plays that Bregman is known to making as a third baseman. If you want to win as a Boston Red Sox, you need the best defense out on the field, and Bregman at third base will give you the best defense. Now, Bregman moving to second base, I think he'll move just fine. He'll play good second base, maybe even exceptional second base. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't.
Oh no, second base. Alex Bregman is going to be a vacuum. It's essentially
third base is going to be an issue.
Yeah, it's second base is a range of motion position where Alex Bregman has that coverage because he has experience playing shortstop as well.
And Alex Cora, when he answered the comments of Rafael Devers to reporters, he said you can't rely on something the GM told you, given that the GM's not even on a team anymore.
Yeah.
Like, there's a situation happening behind the scenes in Boston that I can sense. I feel like by opening day, Devers is going to be DH.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Devers he's also gonna make a statement apologizing to Alex Cora and his teammates for thinking that he's bigger than the team.
I agree, George. It just really, from unbiased eyes, I hate to see this happening, especially with Devers because he's a great player, and he needs to really get rid of his big ego
100%.
And take this chance because the Red Sox are building something great right now. They have a future. They have something to look forward to, and Devers is now
picking up.
Hold on. Sorry to cut you off, Angel. Rafael Devers has -9 DRS last year.
That's tragic.
Alex Bregman has +6.
Yeah,
Alex Bregman is also a full point higher, 0.1 higher fielding percentage than Devers.
Yeah, there's all the stats and numbers are going to prove
it makes
Bregman
no
should be
sense.
playing third base.
It just baffles me. And I will never forgive Alex Bregman for what happened with the Astros back in the day. But he gained a piece of respect for me because he went out and said, I don't care, wherever Alex Cora puts me is where I'll play.
Because he's a team guy.
Because he's a team guy, not selfish Devers, who thinks he's bigger. There's no I in team.
Now, granted, is Devers the better player than Bregman? Yes.
Arguable.
No, he is.
Career-wise, I wouldn't think so.
No, I mean, offensively, we have to see Bregman kind of come back offensively. But Devers is the guy that
Bregman is a better complete player than Bregman.
Okay, complete player, yes. But, Devers, give the bat to him. He can hit the ball anywhere you're thrown. It doesn't matter the quadrant you throw it at. So, we know that talent-wise, he's a AL MVP runner-up or even conversational kind of guy. That's the numbers that Devers can produce. So it sucks to see that he sees a new guy come into his team that he knows will better his team, especially, they fell off last year. This Red Sox team
Red Sox team is scary.
They can make noise in the AL East.
100%.
They can fight for the best team in the division.
Oh, definitely. This Red Sox team coming off of last year is looking so much better.
Yeah.
And if
You can't let your ego
No,
stop
not
you
at
from
all.
that.
Because they have a chance to make a run, and he doesn't see and he doesn't comprehend that, and it's just it's a shame.
Devers
It's a shame.
later in his career was going to become a full-time DH.
Oh, definitely.
He just doesn't want to
He's the
be.
third base version of David Ortiz, but not as good as David Ortiz.
He just doesn't want to go to full-time DH right now. He's still young. He still has so much talent. But
On the
he's going
defensive side.
he's going to end up being a full-time DH
Definitely.
later in his
It's not even
career.
close. He's like Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah. Yeah. These players, it's okay to admit when you can't play defense. Like, it's okay. And the numbers back it up, comparing him to Bregman. Like, Bregman is a Gold Glove winner at third base. He has plus runs saved at third base, So
which is a difficult position to get DRS.
It's a difficult
tough
position
to get DRS. It's also one of the most difficult positions in baseball.
Exactly what I was gonna say. It's one of the most difficult positions to play in baseball. I mean, the hot corner is the hot corner for a reason, and you have to be able to react. So, are there gonna be games where Boston might lose because of third base defense if they decide to keep Devers there? Most likely.
It's going to happen.
It's going to get to a point.
Especially with how the universe works, him saying this, it's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen. It's going to get to a point where Bregman has to play that position for your team.
And after it happens, he's going to open his eyes. He's going to see, I'm bigger than the team is bigger than me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna swallow my pride, and I'm going to give it to the better defensive third baseman.
I hope it gets to that point. I really do. But we're going to stick to AL East when it comes to spring training right here. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did not sign an extension before the deadline, and he's bound to be a free agent after this upcoming season. One of the top, maybe the best first baseman all over in the league. Yeah. He's going to get paid. He's going to get paid in the offseason.
His contract is going to be absolutely wild.
It's going to start. I think it's going to start with a 5.
It's going to start with a 5. Chance it goes into 6s.
No.
I think 6.
No.
The inflation in the league.
It's going to be a 10.
It's going to be a lifer, It's going to be like
12 years.
Like a 12-year kind of contract.
12.
I think he's not going to sign a contract short term or like for just a couple years.
He's 35. It's going to be a 12-year deal.
25 is crazy.
Yeah.
He came up young. He
came up signing a 12-year. Players.
He's going to sign a 12. If it's 12, it's going to start with a 6.
No, I think it starts with 5. Like, okay, I know we just came off a free agency where we saw Juan Soto sign for 700 up to 800 in incentives, but these players are not Juan Soto.
Vlad's gonna start with a 6.
Vlad's gonna have a 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I personally think his number's gonna start with 5. But what happens here now is Toronto could have kept their guy for that number and the years, and it could have been just one-on-one conversation between him and Toronto. He would have been there for life. Now he has 29 other teams they can listen to. The Yankees being one of them.
Yeah,
he's not. Lewis mentioned this when we were prepping for this pod. You think he's going to become a Padre?
I think so. Yeah, Padre or a Red Sox. I saw a post that he liked about him.
I can't see him. I can't see him signing with the Padres for life,
guys.
Especially with a Padres team that Tatis and Machado are going to leave soon. That I think so. I think the Padres are gonna undergo a rebuild soon.
I think if nothing goes well for them this year in that division,
it's time.
Might as well.
Yeah,
it's time to rebuild. But
I could see Vlad. I haven't seen anyone talk about this. The Orioles.
No, I don't know about that.
I don't hate that. They have a good young core.
You know what I like? I like the Cubs.
The Cubs? Oh, I don't hate that either, to be honest.
If the Cubs
up and coming team.
If the Cubs are able to keep Kyle Tucker too, which I mean they're both free agents, so that's both
Braves?
That's like 400. They have Matt Olson.
Yeah.
They have a DH.
Guerrero's not. He's the same situation. He's not a DH right now. He's gonna want to play defense.
But if I have a choice between Matt Olson or Vladdy on defense, it's tough to go. It's tough to
Matt
choose.
Olson.
It's tough to choose other than Matt Olson.
Well, I agree, but that Atlanta would not go after him. They have him locked. They're not worried about first base.
Matt Olson is my favorite player in the league right now.
Think about the teams that need a first baseman. The Yankees are gonna need one after this year. They will most likely want to sign him.
They're not gonna go get him though.
Detroit's not a bad name as well. But we
I
also
don't
got.
think he's staying with Toronto though.
You-
Not at all.
You don't think he's staying in Toronto?
No, there's no.
I
feel
think
like there's
Toronto's
no
gonna
shot.
go rebuild as well.
Toronto's gonna throw. He just picked up Max Scherzer. I don't think they're rebuilding.
Yeah, that's for a year. Yeah, they're not gonna. If they don't end up being good this year, again, we're talking about next year's off season when Vlad is a free
You still
agent.
have 162 games to look forward to.
No, of course. I mean, it's just the start of it. It's just spring training now. But just
the
look
Blue
at the
Jays,
teams.
by the way, made a nice pickup yesterday. Picked up Ryan Yarbrough, an old pitcher.
He's all right.
A pitcher from the Rays.
The Rays, and yeah, he's all
who,
right.
Who I still see an upside, and signed to a minor league deal, and I think that I love the young players the Rays had. They had Yarbrough, they had Shea McClanahan, who's turning out to be a stud.
Still have him.
I know,
Hopefully he can stop getting injured.
He
could be a Cy Young.
When he's good, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball.
I know. He just has to stay on the field.
Yeah.
So, listen, Toronto is a confusing team. They have the talent to play good, but they don't play good. You know, like it's just their pitching is underwhelming at many times. You know, picking up Max Scherzer is not going to bolster that rotation.
He's gonna retire soon.
It's a 1-year deal for a reason, guys.
The top 4 pitchers on this Toronto Blue Jays, top 4 starting pitchers look like a fever dream from 2019.
Exactly.
You have Kevin Gausman, Max Scherzer, Oakland A's legend Chris Bassett, and Twins legend Jose Barrios.
That's all right.
It was a promising rotation years ago, but nowadays it's like it could be better. And then you don't know what you can do with Bo Bichette, you know. And now if you lose Guerrero, that's another situation. Like Vladdy's in a situation where he didn't sign the extension, so now he can look at every team after the season. Every team, they can talk to him, throw a bag at him, 500, 600, whatever the number is, and he can find a better situation elsewhere. I think Toronto needs to go through a full rebuild with the teams that they have to face in the AL East at this point. They're on track to be in the worst.
Blue Jays hopeful, and it's a shame seeing it like this.
They're always going to be one of the worst teams now in the division with how much talent the rest of the teams in the East have. So they might as well just fix it up, rebuild, do something like the Orioles did.
Hold on, we're forgetting that the Blue Jays picked up Anthony Santander.
They did.
I don't think that's gonna be a difference maker, to be honest.
Nah, that's a difference maker right there. That's a good.
I don't think so.
That's a good pickup.
Lewis, that's 40 home runs.
That's 40 home runs on the roster that doesn't shine besides Bo Bichette and Vladdy.
No.
And no, you have Dalton Varsho. You have a George Springer who's not completely.
George Springer's washed. Okay.
He's not completely.
He's
cooked.
washed. He's washed.
He's a good. He's
Andres
suitable.
Jimenez is solid.
Yeah, they did pick up.
Jimenez is
Toronto had a sneaky offseason. Let's not get this twisted.
If they get like a B minus, but
Toronto is that team throughout the offseason where they were expected to get all this talent
and no one heard about it.
and nobody signed with them. But
No
then
one wants
they
to go to Toronto.
got sneaky players like Jimenez, Santander, which are good players. They have a team that can compete this year.
They're a wild card.
They can
They're
compete
I
for
think
wild
first round
card.
exit. First round exit wild card.
Okay,
that's
but
enough though.
we're
That's
talking
better than what
about-
it's been.
We're talking about
That's not
teams
enough to
that can
keep
make
Vladdy.
it though.
No, it's not enough to keep Vladdy at all.
It's not, but but Toronto is a good enough team that they can make noise this year, and then they could possibly make a wild card, like you said. And who knows? They have the talent. It's just they've had the talent for years as well, and there's just been a lot of ups and downs with the team. You know, when they finally even made the playoffs in the wild card again, they choked it against Seattle. So there's so many unanswered questions with Toronto, and now that you don't have Vladdy signed to an extension, that's even another question you have to answer. Beyond this year alone, you're already trying to make it noise this year. Now you have to think about years to go because you could possibly lose your franchise guy to free agency. So that's why not signing the extension is big. I don't want to, forget about the other moves that happened throughout the offseason, given that spring training is back. Alonso's back with the Mets. Jack Flaherty's back with the Tigers. Glaber went to the Tigers. Like, there are so many things that happened this year, and
the Tigers gonna be good.
I need to ask you, like, what's an underrated move that a team made this offseason?
Glaber to the Tigers.
I think so too. Like, Glaber, offensively, he's a good second baseman offensively. I mean, his defense has been questionable, and that's why the Yankees didn't want to sign him back. But that's a nice player to have on the Tigers, who are up and coming right now.
Another sneaky good team are the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, they traded for Naylor after losing Christian Walker.
And picked up Corbin Burns.
The issue last year was I think they were the team that scored the most runs offensively, but their pitching did not result into wins. So he picked up an ace in Corbin Burns. Now, if you're talking about a guy who can win you like 15 games or more, probably be the anchor of that rotation now, and if the offense
He's their number one starter.
No, of course, but now if the offense can replicate what they did last year with now improved pitching, they should be a good team in the West.
Good.
That West is going to be crazy.
And Corbin Carroll had an off year last year. He's going to come back with a vengeance. That team's going to be good.
I mean, look at that. Look at the NL West. Diamondbacks, Dodgers.
The NL West,
Padres.
They're not going to. It's the NL West. It's the Dodgers.
I know,
but they're a wild card team that could.
That whole division is the wild card at this point.
Yeah.
When you look at the spring training, as we wrap up this segment, what's a team that did not make the playoffs that you think has a chance to make the playoffs? Wild card or division?
That didn't make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Chicago Cubs.
You think the accusation of Kyle Tucker and
easily
get them to the playoffs?
100%. Not even close.
I was going to give it to the Diamondbacks because everything we just said.
Chicago Cubs, it's not a difficult question for
You know a sneaky team, actually, before we wrap up, a sneaky team that could...
The Reds.
No, I wasn't going to say the Reds.
I'm super sneaky, the Reds.
I'm writing the formerly known as Oakland A's.
You think the Vegas A's?
The Vegas A's, Sacramento, wherever they're playing. But I think
Sacramento, Vegas, they're going to be somewhere.
They're going to be somewhere, but I think the A's could sneakily make some noise in the West.
On ESPN right now, they're just listed as Athletics. They don't have a city.
Yeah, they don't have
They're
a city.
homeless.
They're just the A's, guys. I think the A's can sneakily do some good in AL. I'm not saying that they'll win anything, but I think they're proved to teams around the league that you can't take them lightly anymore. Then it's not automatic dub as you used to.
You got Shea
think.
Langoliers, who I like a lot.
Yeah, they picked up Sorvino for their rotation. They have bats. They have good bats.
Gio Urshela, Miguel Andujar.
Come on now.
Oh my God, they're the Yankees.
Look at many teams.
Severino,
many teams
Andujar, Gio Urshela.
Many teams want to be Yankees.
They're the 2018 Yankees.
We'll get to Yankees, but let's wrap up this segment. Spring training underway. Many teams are here to prove themselves in the 2025 season. And when we come back, we're going to bring it to some New York action, go to Citi Field, talk about the Mets and how they're looking with their new addition of Juan Soto. And we'll be back on 101 after this break.
Hi, this is Mike Breen, WFUV class of 1983. WFUV is the flagship station of Fordham Athletics with live coverage of Fordham football, Fordham men's and women's basketball, in addition to Saturday one-on-one. Stay right here on 90.7 FM for all things WFUV sports.
Welcome back to 101. That was a little quick break, but before we get into anything Mets related, we have a caller for us. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. It's Jack Warner. What's going on?
Jack, how you doing, buddy?
Well, listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad. Well, actually, this is great news for me. But the reason I'm calling is actually because I love you boys both, but I'm here to tease you guys a little bit because of your guys' team allegiances here in Major League Baseball.
I just gave praise to your team.
Yeah, we just showed the Sox some love.
The news over the airwaves that Juan Soto just went yard in his first spring training at bat with the Mets.
Of course he did. I'm not. Is that going to scare me, guys? Like, listen, the Mets, in my opinion, are still not better than the Yankees. Okay, we can have this argument throughout 101. We can have this argument off the scenes and everywhere. Okay, Juan Soto. Listen, Juan Soto is going to be a huge factor for the Mets. I mean, he's going to give you the power. He's going to give you the walks, the RBIs.
Angel, guess who's starting for the Mets right now?
Who?
Clay Holmes.
Oh, this is just
Yeah.
this is great,
This
guys.
is brutal. This is horrible.
This is great. Wait,
I hope
what?
just for that. I hope he throws 5 scoreless, 1 hit, 6 Ks.
Warner, I'll see you in class. That's just not right. That's just not right. Yes.
No, I just thought it'd be fun to point that out. I didn't know how quickly you guys would see it, but it is true. Juan Soto did go yards for bringing it back, which is pretty cool.
That's crazy.
You guys are having a great show. You guys are awesome.
I appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, Jack.
Appreciate Jack Warner being on the show. Of course, that segs great into our segment because we're gonna talk Mets right now, and their entire offseason was surrounded on their new addition of Juan Soto, the Juan Soto sweepstakes, which basically destroyed everybody, every fan base, and every soul.
Everything.
He finally signed for millions of dollars for the Mets.
765 of them.
Of course, Warner, had to break the news that he hit a home run. Of course, Clay Holmes is pitching for the Mets today. Does that mean anything?
Clay Holmes one scoreless.
It's one
scoreless, one hitless.
It's spring training, guys. Listen, we have Bradley Byrne behind the scenes. He's our known
resident Mets fan.
Yeah, he's our known Met fan, so you're gonna hear him throughout the segment, of course. But let's just go into the Mets right now. And Bradley, come in whenever you want, man. But the Mets have a good offensive team. All right, they shined some hope last year in the playoffs, almost able to beat the Dodgers. They couldn't get past the NLCS, though. But the Mets have improved. They get Juan Soto for the bats.
What I'm seeing with this Mets team is that instead of losing to the Dodgers 4-2, they're going to lose to the Dodgers 4-3. That's essentially what I'm seeing from this Mets team.
So they're still going to lose.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Oh, no, for sure.
I mean, look at the team, right? You have Lindor, who's probably gonna be your leadoff man. Juan Soto is your second guy. What would you say? Vientos number 3, Alonso 4.
I'd say Pete Alonso with 3.
They got Pete 3 and Francisco Alvarez 4.
No, well, that's just the spring training.
Yeah.
I think we're talking about opening day lineup right now.
I think opening day lineup. Francisco Lindor should be leadoff.
I like Vientos as your 3 because Alonso.
I'm not mad at that.
Alonso at 4. I mean, that's your power guy because he's your strikeout or home run guy. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
here,
he's
right?
either like a single.
Remember they got Jesse Winker too, who's a good 6-7 bat.
Who?
Jesse Winker.
Jesse Winker was really good. I was at the Mets Orioles game when he hit that walk-off homer.
He's gonna be a platoon kind of guy though. Like he'll play based off matchups.
Yeah, he'll play against righties.
Yeah, but your top 5 is looking nice. Lindor, Soto, Vientos, Alonso, Alvarez.
Alvarez, who needs to prove
Or Nimmo. I think Nimmo's going to be in that.
Nimmo 5. Okay,
Nimmo fell off last year, though.
He's going to bounce back. Him and Francisco Alvarez going to bounce back.
Well, let's talk about it because those two need to bounce back for your team. It's not even
I'm looking at the last games from last year.
Yeah.
1 for 4, 2 for 5, 1 for 3.
Don't
0 for 4 and a 7-3 win.
Don't even worry about last year. Last year is a blur for every team. It's a clean slate now, all right? We're here in spring training. The season begins in a month. Let's just look into the future right now, right? And when I look at the Mets, I make the argument that they will not win the division because of teams like Atlanta and Philly.
Atlanta, with Ronald back, is going to win the division.
I think
they'll win the wild card and maybe get out the first round.
I'm not saying the Mets won't make the playoffs, but I don't think they win the division. I think the Mets make the playoffs to the wild card still.
And I also think that the Phillies still beat them in the division.
I mean, the Phillies, they did choke in the playoffs. I can't give the Phillies right now. The Braves, I think, win the division or the Phillies, but I still think the Mets are a second.
Marlins
or third
divisional dub.
Imagine that. If I was a Met fan and saw that, I would cry.
That sounds like a fever dream.
We talk about the offense and the bats, and no matter what order you want to put them in. I can see you guys, averaging 4 to 5 runs a game, being one of the top offenses in the league.
Yeah.
But your pitching needs
still
to prove
behind the
it.
Yankees, but still a top offense.
Your pitching needs to prove it though. You guys don't have a number 1. Let's be honest here. Senga is not your number 1.
Sean Manaea.
He was the ace.
Manaea was the ace.
We're in 2025, and you're having Sean Manaea as your number one pitcher.
He was good the second half of last year.
He was good last year, but I don't know if I can trust him.
The second half of last year, everything is the second. Like, I don't trust him for a full season.
No. I don't trust him to bounce back and replicate what he did last year. Last year he was great. He was perfect for the Mets.
They have Frankie Montas.
He's gone. He's injured.
Is he out for the year?
He's not out for the year, but he's injured. Like that was the biggest pitching news for the Mets in recent time. That he got injured before we can even start practicing.
6 to 8 weeks.
He's done. He's shut down for 6 to 8 weeks.
But when he comes back, he's gonna be a stud.
No, he's not. He hasn't been a stud since the Oakland days. He's gonna be a suitable pitcher when he comes back, but when would he come back? He's always injured. That's the issue. He's always injured. He can be maybe the 4th, 5th best pitcher when healthy. And that would be good if he can. But again, let's look at the roster. Look at the rotation. You don't have names that you can rely on pitching wise. You have a lot of players who have to prove it. When you look at other rotations in the league, like in the NL, like the Dodgers, unfortunately, they have players who have proven it that they can be the ace of a rotation, and they're the 3rd or 4th guy in the rotation. They have the Blake Snells, they have the Yamamoto, they have the Glass now, those guys proved it.
I'm sorry, that rotation is just...
It's laughable. I'm sorry.
No, it's laughable, but
you can't ignore the fact... Ohtani, Snell,
the
Glasnow,
Dodgers.
and Sasaki.
I was laughing at the Mets.
I was laughing at the Dodgers because you were talking about Glasnow, Sasaki, and Snell.
To my point is, they have aces 1 through 5, or 1 through 3, 4, whatever. They have people that have proven.
They have aces 1 through 5.
Yeah, I think they have aces 1 through 5.
Okay, but then look at other teams in NL who have aces, right? Like the Diamondbacks just getting Corbin Burns. They have an ace. The Braves have an ace in Chris Sale. The Phillies have an ace in Zach Wheeler.
Chris Sale's fine wine. Yeah, he just gets better.
But who do the Mets have? They don't have they have guys who should be the 3rd, 4th, 5th options in the rotation. You don't have necessarily
a guy
ace. That's the issue.
They have a guy in their rotation who shouldn't even be in any rotation. Why is Clay Holmes starting now?
I mean,
maybe he'll bounce back. Maybe
he's a terrorist. We lived it last year. He's a terrorist. He likes to watch the world burn.
He's a guy that he was good in the first half. He was terrible in the second half. He has consistency problems. Now, I think he's a good piece for your bullpen. We didn't even get into the bullpen, and your bullpen is questionable still.
Yeah, the bullpen
needs a little bit. I was
on
on the phone with Lewis during a Yankee game, and I saw I was like, Clay Holmes is going to give up a grand slam here. What did he do? He gave up a grand slam because he's not a viable pitcher.
It's just what he does.
He's not a viable pitcher.
He's not a viable pitcher, but the Mets still swept the Yankees last year, and that's...
Oh, my God. Congratulations. You lost to the Dodgers.
Okay.
Congratulations. Which team made it to the World Series?
You lost to the Guardians.
Not you guys. You guys didn't make it to the World Series? Where?
I'd rather lose to the Dodgers than the Guardians, buddy. You lost to the Guardians in, 5 games? Where's Aaron Judge?
We beat the Guardians. We beat the Guardians.
We were in the World Series.
My
bad. That's my fault.
You were in the World Series.
That's my fault.
Last time I checked.
That's my fault. But you're not making the World Series this year.
Who in the AL?
Who's beating us in the AL? Please, do tell.
I'm taking the Orioles still.
Oh, buddy. Oh, my God. Shiver me timbers.
They couldn't even make it.
They didn't even make the playoffs. Shiver me timbers. And they lost Corbin Burns, too.
No, they made the playoffs. They just lost in the first round
that's what I meant. They couldn't even make it past the Royals.
I think you meant no.
No, trust me. I know the teams that made the playoffs last year, all right? And I know who made it places. And the Mets have far more competition to get to the World Series than the Yankees because the AL has gotten a little bit weaker.
The Yankees getting into the ALCS is essentially a moonwalk.
We're going to talk Yankees after this segment, so I'll leave my chips for that. But the Mets have to prove it.
The Mets are taking a Knicks approach. They're focusing solely the Knicks.
Please don't disrespect the Knicks like that.
No, listen to what I'm going to just listen to what I'm going to say.
Let's hear this.
So you know how the Knicks were one of the best defensive teams last year, but they were kind of middle of the pack offensively. when they traded for Carl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges, they now are focusing solely on offense. Now they're the second best offense in the league. The Mets are kind of taking that same all-in approach on one specific portion, which is the batting, which is why they gave Juan Soto all that money. They're all in on
pitching. But pitching is what separates the men from the boys.
Pitching is what wins you games.
No, I'm saying 100%. I agree with you guys. I'm saying that the Mets are taking a Knicks sort of approach, going all in on a specific portion of the game.
Okay,
like the Knicks are going all in on offense right now, but the middle of the pack defensively. The Mets are one of the top teams at the bat wise, but bullpen and pitching is in the middle of the pack. You see what I'm trying to say?
No,
they're kind
yes,
of taking
I do.
They're taking that all in approach on one.
Unfortunately, let's throw out numbers right now. The World Series that we just watched between the Yankees and the Dodgers, do you know the Yankees outscored the Dodgers offensively and still lost? Do you know that both teams hit below 220 in the series? Do you know that both teams had Juan Soto, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, and all the stars were not hitting? Because
Juan Soto is the reason you made the World Series. Aaron Judge was non-existent the entire playoffs. Juan Soto is the reason you made the World Series.
Okay, we get
Cole for forgetting us there too.
First of all, Garrett Cole and Giancarlo Stanton was.
But who's the best player? Who was the best player throughout the playoffs in the Yankees?
Giancarlo Stanton.
No.
Yes, he was. There's a reason why he won ALCS MVP.
That's just one series. We're talking about the entire playoffs.
He did it against the Royals. He did it against the Guardians. He did it against the Dodgers.
He just did it.
No, but I still think Juan Soto was the best player in your team throughout the playoffs.
You think? Yeah, you think it's not the truth.
Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
It's not even just the numbers. It's also the eye test.
It's the numbers.
The numbers take precedence over the eye test.
Yeah.
No, I still think Juan Soto was the best player on your team throughout the playoffs. That's my
but that's not true.
My eye test says that Aaron Judge hit a huge home run off Class A and hit a huge home run in the World Series, but the numbers say he was bad throughout the playoffs. And what's the narrative that you say about Aaron Judge?
Is that
he was bad in the playoffs.
So
Soto,
the eye test says
no one's saying that Soto was bad in the playoffs. He was a good player.
Stanton was better.
But Stanton was better. Look at the numbers.
I mean, I still think it's arguable, but
look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
I'll pull them up right now.
He won you a game against the Royals. Listen, Stanton won you a game against the Royals. Stanton was consistent against the Guardians and helped you win a game against the Guardians if it wasn't for the walk-off. And then in the World Series, he almost helped you win Game 1.
Hold on, I'm pulling up the stats right now. Give me 1 second. Okay, so in the playoffs, Juan Soto had a higher OPS, higher average, higher on-base percentage, had more runs, had more hits, had more singles, they were tied in doubles, had more walks, less strikeouts, and John Carlson had more at-bats, but Juan Soto had more better stats.
There's a factor involved, too.
That's just one fact. I just read you the numbers. Juan Soto, at less at-bats than John Carlson, had a higher OPS, higher batting average.
Okay, yes, he did.
Higher on-base percentage.
He did walk more.
More runs, more hits, more singles. They were tied in doubles. Both didn't have a single triple. And Juan Soto had more walks and less strikeouts. So, the numbers...
RBIs are insanely important in playoffs.
No, RBIs are insanely important, but most of the stats lean Juan Soto. So...
RBIs at the end of the day.
RBIs are the difference maker in playoffs.
But you can't ignore you can't ignore the OPS, you can't ignore the batting average or the on-base percentage or the runs or the hits.
Okay, hold on. Do you know why you can ignore the OPS? Because
it's he's not sample size. That's another thing. It's a limited sample size.
No.
OPS. Hold on. Sorry, Angel. OPS is a stat that matters for longevity, for an extended period of time, for a full season. That's the value of OPS. OPS you can't use a 10-game sample size for OPS.
Well,
it's not as valuable though.
You can use the sample size in the playoffs for every stat. You want to go back to eye tests, you want to go back to stats. Look at both. You can look at everything. Did Juan Soto won the Yankees the game against the Guardians to bring you to the World Series? Yes, he did. I'm not gonna argue that. Stanton did it,
and he is going to create an immense value for the Mets, and he's gonna play well for the Mets.
Yes, he is. Juan Soto is going to be. I love how this turned into a Yankee segment when we got to talk Mets.
We got a Yankee segment coming up.
Juan Soto is going to replicate or even do better numbers than he did last year with the Mets. I see no reason why. Is it going to be enough of him, Lindor, and Vientos for the Mets to make it far in the playoffs? That's my issue. I think offensively they're going to be great. They're going to be one of the top teams in the NL, maybe even in the league. But at the end of the day, pitching wins you games. And the point I was trying to make earlier was the World Series was featured pitching duel after pitching duel. Both teams couldn't hit anyone's pitching, and that's what resulted into many of the wins for the Dodgers. If it was an offensive game, why did the Yankees not win? And that's how I'm going to wrap up this segment. From Citi Field to Yankee Stadium, we got one more segment to go. New York's team, as they like to say it. We're going to wrap up one-on-one, talking New York Yankees and their spring training. They want to bounce back from their struggles against the Dodgers in the World Series and make a better picture for them, going into the future, going into this year. And me and George and Lewis and Bradley, we're going to talk more about that when we come back from one-on-one after this quick break. Welcome back to 101. It is unfortunately time to start wrapping up the show, but before we can do that, we have to talk about the New York Yankees. Stay in the Bronx, given that we here in Rose Hills. It was a good run for them in 2024. Soto and Judge were making noise. The team makes it to the World Series for the first time since 2009. They get embarrassed by the Dodgers. All season comes, they lose Soto. Dodgers continue to buy and get as many players as they can.
Defer their contracts for 450 years.
I love deferrals. Just love them.
I was seeing memes online of the Dodgers, like Dodgers signed Godzilla
at this point they should.
to deferred money up until 2020, up until 2058.
At this point they should. Now, the Yankees made some moves of their own, of course. They let go of Gleyber Torres. What's the replacement? Jazz Chisholm's going to get a full year at second base.
Love that.
They let go of Anthony Rizzo, who's his replacement at first base. Paul Goldschmidt. They figure out a situation to kind of replace the outfield spot for Soto with Cody Bellinger playing center field. We should possibly get a full year of Jason Dominguez at left field.
Who I'm excited for.
Very excited.
They decided to put all their money into the rotation, into pitching. They signed Max Fried to a hefty contract, I would say, to be our second ace in the rotation. They trade for one of, or the game's best closer in Devin Williams.
The league's best closer of the possibly the decade.
The Yankees decided to take an overall approach into fixing their team, defensively, pitching, offensively. Not one player is going to replace the production that Juan Soto did for the team. But when you can round out that production with players like Cody Bellinger, Paul Goldschmidt, I like chances. Jason Dominguez, I like the chances of the Yankees bouncing back, possibly making it back to the Fall Classic, and hopefully there's a different outcome this time around. Their pitching got better. Rotation-wise, the Yankees have a six-man rotation if you look at it. I mean, Garrett Cole, Max Fried, Carlos Rodon, Luis Gil, Clark Schmidt, Marcus Stroman. I mean, that's six guys who can start any day for the Yankees. And then you look at the bullpen. Luke Weaver was your closer last year. Now he's your setup guy to Devin Williams. That's going to be
which
great.
Is money. That's money.
You got Tim Hill.
You got Tim Hill.
Tim Hill's back. Hopefully, Loizaga can be healthy when he comes back and pitch to what he was in 2021. And then, the rest of the bullpen will, come about.
Yeah, I love Ian Hamilton.
No one hates Ian Hamilton. Scott Efros, There's many guys that you can put there. I think the true wild card is if Loizaga can come back and, really be an X factor in that bullpen. Imagine 7, 8, 9 innings. You can rely on 3 pitchers. That's 9 outs. You're basically saying that you need your starter to go 6 innings, and then you guarantee a win. The Yankees have not felt secured in their closing position since Mariano. Back then.
Hey, we had Chapman for
No, Chapman had spouts. He had good spouts.
Yeah.
I can say the same thing about
solid, though.
I can say the same thing about Clay Holmes, but both of them
That's still a little different.
Both of them end up having
inconsistencies.
There you go. I think that's the best way of saying it. Inconsistency with the closer position has been the identity of the Yankees. Right now, they finally have Devin Williams. He should answer that question. So that's question number 1 that was answered for the Yankees. How do we play Soto? That was another question that was answered.
And I'm gonna be honest. Looking at Cody Bellinger, he could. Don't tell me I'm crazy.
Not yet. I'm just waiting.
If he brings a little bit of the vibe that he brought in 2023 when he hit
Chicago,
when he hit
First year in Chicago?
307 and hit 26 home runs, 97 RBIs.
Yeah.
Could replace that. Or
okay.
Or
I'll let you go.
Or he goes back to how he was in 2019.
I'd love to see that.
47 home runs, 115 RBIs.
His
swing's butter
in New York.
It's gonna be
butter.
305 average, 406 on base, 630 slugging for a 1035 OPS in a 9-WAR season.
Now listen, no one's going to replace Soto. Let's be honest. No one's going to replace the impact Soto had. Not just hitting wise, but discipline, walks, all of that. Cody Bellinger, if he's a guy that can just hit the contact,
if he can have
his
a
swing is going to be great.
If he can have a 350 on base, I'll be happy.
I'll be happy with a nice 280 average from him or 270. But if he can hit 30 home runs, given the fact of Yankee Stadium now,
he can hit 30 Yankee Stadium.
I think
he can easily hit 30.
He's gonna be a good middle of the lineup bat.
He hit 45 at Dodgers at
in LA.
The name of what is it?
Dodgers.
Dodger Park or whatever.
Dodger Stadium. Yes.
Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
If he could hit 47 at Dodger Stadium,
he could.
Which would just have a short porch.
He could hit 30 plus in New York.
He could easily.
He could have hit 55.
I'm not gonna get all unrealistic
55
here.
is a little ridiculous.
No.
But I understand.
It's an easier park to hit in for
100%, especially for a lefty. Yeah, that short porch is gonna be his best friend.
Yankee Stadium is the second easiest park to hit in for a lefty.
No, of course.
Fenway's first.
That's why I like the pickup. He's gonna give you good defense at center field, which is something that you needed too.
He could grab some bags too.
He can grab. Yeah, that's true.
He can steal 20 bags.
He could grab bags better than Soto could.
For sure.
That's another thing. Base running is an upgrade right there. Defense is an upgrade.
You can throw Judge back and right.
That was the key for the Yankees.
You could throw Judge back and right.
Desperately needed to be in right field.
You could throw Judge back and right, and you could have Cody Bellinger go Hulk balls down in center field.
Yeah, because he's actually played the position, and he's played it pretty well. Judge is a terrible center fielder. For anyone that does not want to agree with me, look at the stats. He's a terrible center fielder. He is a Gold Glover at right field.
And if you need it, say Bellinger gets hurt, Goldschmidt gets hurt, you can throw Cody at first.
Yeah, Cody is a first baseman. Yeah,
he came up as a first baseman.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's so true.
He's a Swiss Army knife. You can do whatever you want with him, and he's gonna produce, especially for a Yankee as a lefty.
Bellinger is gonna be a good center fielder. That's what they want him to be. Rightfully so. I think he's gonna be good for them. When he doesn't play, you have Trent Grisham, who's a great center fielder defensively.
Yeah,
and that's someone you want.
And he's a power bat who can hit you a left. Hit you a home run.
I don't know.
No, we're talking about
Trent. I don't know.
Trent Grisham.
Trent Grisham.
I think he's good defensively.
I've been in multiple games where he's hit home runs.
No, listen. Yes, he can hit you the occasional home run, but we only think about him for defense.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't.
Which is okay. I mean, he's a bench guy for defense purposes. That's okay. But we're talking about now a huge issue with the Yankees last year was their defense. They improved it with Goldschmidt at first base. They improved it with Cody Bellinger being in center field. They improved it with Judge being at right field. Now, if Dominguez can situate and figure out left field during spring training and throughout the earlier stages of the year, because don't get me wrong, Dominguez is a good fielder. He just has to get used to the dimensions of left field. And now if he can get used to left field, that's a suitable guy that you can put out there without any scares, any worries. I'm not saying he has to be a Gold Glover.
I'm still sick to my stomach looking at the massive gaping hole at the 5 spot. We don't have a third baseman.
We don't. That's gonna be brutal.
DJ LeMahieu is our top listed third baseman in the depth chart.
It's either him, Cabrera, or Oswaldo Peraza.
I like Cabrera most out of everybody.
But they're all not great.
That's the problem with the Yankees, that we patched up all the holes defensively, which was our main problem, and I think that's the reason why we lost the World Series. But now we've left a hole that's always been a problem since A-Rod left.
Well, if we want to talk about losing the World Series, it was defense. I
think it was defense mostly.
Not hitting with runners in scoring position. It was offensively.
I feel like one thing the Yankees, if they want to make it happen, they could attempt to turn Ben Rice into a third baseman.
No,
Ben Rice is a lefty. That's a first baseman / catcher.
Oh, you're right. I was looking at it wrong.
This is not Don Mattingly, guys. He's not playing third base.
Yeah,
but
and it's too late to turn Goldschmidt into a third baseman.
Goldschmidt is old.
Goldschmidt's old.
What's
another concern for me?
It's too late.
Goldschmidt's old. That's another concern.
I love Paul Goldschmidt.
I think what needs to be done.
2-time MVP.
What needs to be done is
One-time MVP.
the Yankees need to trade. The Yankees need to take this trade deadline seriously. They're gonna see at the midway point of the year that third base is gonna continue being an issue, and there's gonna be guys on the trade market. Do you know someone that I really want as a third baseman for the Yankees? Listen, I know we hate the Houston Astros of 2017.
No.
I really want Carlos Correa as my third baseman for the Yankees.
No.
He is a listen.
He would never come here though. He would never come here.
He won't.
Even if he was traded.
Us.
He would.
Yes,
he would. He would play for the Yankees.
He hates us. I think he's
Angel. I don't think he's coming here.
2017 was a long time ago. The hate is not really as much as it is now. Listen, Correa would play for the Yankees in my opinion. He's also a good postseason factor in the his numbers in the postseason are really good. He is a shortstop, I understand, but with the injuries and all that, let's move him to third base. He will play third base pretty well. I think Carlos Correa will be a huge factor to the Yankees. If we can keep him healthy, offensively, he can put up numbers. He still has offensive numbers to put up there. The only issue has been staying on the field. Another guy that I really want, hold on, before you say anything, if it's not Carlos Correa, I don't understand why the Yankees don't go after it. Please pick up Nolan Arenado.
I don't think he wants to come.
I don't want him. I don't want him.
He does. I think he stated publicly he doesn't want to go to the Yankees.
Washed.
He's not washed. Whoa.
Yes, he is.
He had an all-star, what was it, 2 seasons ago? 1?
Last year he was abysmal.
Last year was bad. I understand last year was bad. But defensively, he answered the question for you.
Yeah.
And then offensively, you don't need him to be Colorado Arenado. You just need him to hit in the bottom of the lineup, which I think he can do. Again, we're thinking about Yankee Stadium here. Yankee Stadium, the dimensions, the factors, they can make good players great, and they can make okay players good. I think Arenado would benefit from the stats in New York and the field in New York offensively. And then if you could just bring the defense, that's what they need. This team in the infield needs defense. Do you know why we won in 2009? Do you not remember the infield we had in 2009?
We had
A-Rod, Jeter, Cano, and Teixeira.
I just sent a reel to George about the 2009 lineup.
With Star Wars music on in the background.
It was so tough.
The line was ridiculous. And that's something that the Yankees just can't get back to for some reason. Is just defensive and offensive good-minded players. We can't have... I understand that we need to use our farm system. We need to find talent within because players are starting to get expensive. But we clearly have not found an answer at third base from our farm system. Trade these guys for an established guy. We are in win-now mode. Garrett Cole is in year 6 or 7 of his contract. Judge is getting up there in age. Stanton doesn't have that many years left. Okay. Our window is right now to win. Like, this year and next year. Like, there's not that much time left. Those guys aren't coming until 3 to 4 years later. You need to buy, you need to trade, you need to pay players for now. LeMahieu is not going to sustain the entire season and give you 2019, 2020 vibes at third base. Cabrera is a solid, versatile piece that I don't think is going to mesh well playing full-time. He's great off the bench, though, and can play anywhere. And Peraza, they unfortunately haven't given him the chance to really play full-time. But you know what? Trade him to Minnesota for Correa, and then he'll get full-time playing minutes over there, all right, if that's the issue. And give me Correa, who I know has a track record in the playoffs, to perform well in the clutch. That's an issue. Runners for scoring position was terrible for the Yankees throughout the playoffs. Not just the World Series. Throughout the playoffs, the Yankees could not score with runners in scoring position. Yeah. They won games off clutch moments by Stanton, by Soto. It wasn't bases loaded, no outs, scraps a run or two, and there, you're good. There's many opportunities where the Yankees would have someone on third base, second base, 0 outs, 1 out, 2 outs straight, in and over. That's the issue with the New York Yankees right now, that there were not enough clutch situational hitting. Correa will bring that to you in the postseason, throughout the season when he's healthy. And if he's not healthy throughout the season, okay, get him healthy for September and October then. And I promise you, he will hit.
Angel, one thing with that, what if we don't get Correa? And that's a big concern, the Yankees' offense, especially in the clutch, like you're saying. Who's going to take up? Who's going to step up? Because obviously Judge has failed to show up, which I hate to see. But he's failed to show up. Like, Jazz, great player.
I was going to say his name.
Jazz, Cody, Jazz. But like they need to prove themselves because Jazz, he was quiet during the postseason.
Every player has to prove themselves. Okay, yeah. Offensively, the Yankees were not the same in the postseason. No matter, listen, the Royals and Guardians played worse than us, and we played bad.
Yeah,
that's how we got to the World Series. Okay, we did not play like the regular season where we were scoring 5-6 runs a game. Okay, we had great pitching in the postseason. Don't get me wrong, and our rotation and bullpen got boosted, so I see the same patterns happening this year if we make it. But offensively, we need to be confident that the same offensive team that could score 4 to 6 runs a game in the regular season can do the same thing in the postseason, so that you can give your pitching a break in the postseason. Yeah.
One thing I'm looking for is for that one player to step up and be a leader when Judge proves he fails. Because, Giancarlo's getting old. I'm not sure if he's going to have the same, Stanton
is injured right now, so that's gonna be an issue to look out throughout the season.
But I'm looking towards an Anthony Volpe or Austin Wells to finally take that big step and become the face of the franchise.
Volpe is
year 3 for Volpe.
He had a massive slam.
Massive postseason, not just the word massive postseason. If you look at his numbers,
Volpe's gonna use that to his advantage this year. He's gonna have a very solid year.
If I'm a player, my mentality is, I just had a good postseason. I just had a huge grand slam in the World Series of all places. At home, it was a magical run. If you look at the numbers, I know we had an argument between Stanton and Soto earlier. Volpe was up there as one of the best players throughout the postseason. He was practically our top 3rd best player in the postseason. If I'm mentality-wise a player, I'm looking at that as wow, I'm capable of doing this when the lights are bright. Let me piggyback and take this throughout the regular season now. I expect a big season between Volpe as well, year 3. I expect a lot of big years for the Yankees. I think Chisholm is a potential 30-30 kind of guy. Volpe can get his average up. That's going to be great. If Wells can hit 20 home runs, that'd be great. If Dominguez can be, a Rookie of the Year candidate, that'd be great. It's going to be a lot of question marks, a lot of what ifs with the Yankees. But that's going to do it for us here on 101. It was a great show. 3 hours full of content, basketball, football, baseball.
Hockey interview,
can't forget about that. We may have been undermanned, but we did it, guys.
Yes, we did.
For George, for Lewis, for Bradley,
hold up, quick, big shout out behind the scenes. Lewis and Bradley holding down the fort.
Big shout out.
Understaffed, unmanned.
Producer and host backstage from Lewis and Bradley.
Big shout out to you, too.
For me, Angel Ducret and George here in the studio. If you missed anything of one-on-one, you can check on WFUV Sports YouTube page. You can check on the radio tonight, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. on 90.7
FM.
One-on-one is a production of WFUV Sports. We will see you next week.
Lydia
place
Perner here,
this.
and I'm pleased to be
10
joined
days before I
alongside the
went up to
designer
Lake
of the Miracle on
Placid,
Ice
I went
45th
to Madison
anniversary
Square
merchandise
Garden and
creator, Mr.
watched
Gary Lowe. Lowe
Russia beat
founded
the
Lowe Sports,
U.S.
which has
10
been
to
a leader
3.
in officially licensed fan
So
gear for over 30
my
years
uncle
now.
invited
His
me up
brand
to
has been
Lake
so successful.
Placid because they had an EKG machine, the Olympic Village, that was being used by the athletes, and